with now, and just a fantastic person to collaborate with. So, Devin, here we are. Each month, we start out our monthly meeting with a sort of broad topic on marketing issues that will be of interest to absolutely any advisor. And in the middle part of our meeting, we turn specifically to um, what we're teeing up for marketing for advisors here at Horse's Mouth. We do provide, a fair amount of directive, content and campaigns and that sort of thing. So we talk about what's teed up for this month and what's coming in the next month. And then part three is member questions where we're answering questions that people send us about marketing. So let's take it from the top. You have a really interesting topic here about creating FAQs for your website. So what's that all about?
Yeah, I think this is something that we're starting to see a little bit more among advisors of creating kind of an FAQ page to add to their website. And, there are some reasons why I think this has become more popular or more advisors are thinking about it, or why you should be thinking about it if you're not right now. Kind of the number one thing I think is and this goes back a few years, there's a lot of talk around like fee transparency and advisors changing their fee structure and being more transparent with it. But because when people come to your website, or any professional's website, there's certain information that they kind of want to get before they pick up the phone and call someone. And I think we've become somewhat conditioned to expect a certain amount of information on a website, yet for many professionals in this industry, you go on their website and you really have no clue about these kind of important aspects of how that relationship works, how they're paid, what services are included in that. And so sometimes I think for a prospect that can often, I don't want to say be a red flag, but give them pause when reaching out. If they don't have all the information, if it's someone who hasn't worked with an advisor before, they might feel a little anxious around not knowing, and feeling like if they do reach out to just get more information, they're going to be kind of roped into something. So I think there's some benefits of having an FAQ page from a prospecting perspective of just giving people a little bit of information so they can kind of self-select and educate themselves on, what you do as a professional and how you can help them. And then from a more like technical standpoint too, it does help with search engine optimization because you can really throw a lot of keywords in there. You're giving the search engines more information about you. So when someone searches for an advisor like you, you're more likely to be ranked higher. It can help build that trust and credibility, like I was just saying, because you're kind of being transparent with what you offer and who that is for. Increases accessibility. It can increase user experience on your website because again, people are more likely to spend more time on it, reading through and trying to, understand you and your business. Saves time for the prospect, but also saves time for you because I'm sure there are many, prospects who come in for a meeting who just aren't necessarily the best fit. And you're meeting with them because, you're a professional and that's what you do. But maybe if they had more information from a sort of FAQ page, they would have kind of realized before they came in that maybe it wasn't going to be the best fit. So I think there's a lot of benefits to doing an FAQ page, but of course, creating an FAQ page from scratch can be a time-consuming process, especially if you've never done one before, thinking about, what questions am I going to include, answering those questions, getting them up on your website, reviewing them. There's a lot of steps involved in that. So I think that's some of the reasons we've seen maybe a hesitation in doing this in the past. But luckily, I think there's a much easier way to accomplish this now, and that's by using tools like ChatGPT to kind of help
What?
you.
What?
I know, shocking.
Hey, hey, he's talking about AI again?
Um, yeah, using ChatGPT, I think this is a great use case for many advisors about how can I create an FAQ page, within minutes, or at least get a good draft of something that you're then going to go and sit down and kind of take to the next level because it can kind of help you through the entire process of figuring out what questions you want to include, but then also answering those questions for you to an extent. Of course, anytime we talk about AI, we're saying you still need to be the human in the loop here, right? You're still kind of the person who needs to go over these questions and answers and make sure they're accurate and what you want to have on your website. But if you're someone who's like, look, like I've never even thought about an FAQ page, or maybe you have, but I have no idea where to start, having a conversation with a tool like ChatGPT can really be beneficial to kind of get started here. And I think for a lot of people who are starting out, my suggestion would be, simply sharing at a minimum your website and maybe any other sort of um, general marketing materials you might have if you're someone who has like a message platform that you've created, or even like value proposition documents, ideal client personas, any of those sort of documents, sharing those with a chat GPT and just kind of asking it to help you brainstorm um, some questions that you might want to include in a FAQ page on your site. Um, And I think that then, you can go through those questions. You can say, give me 20 questions, and then you can pare it down to maybe 10 that you want to include on your site. I don't think it needs to be this overly comprehensive,
Right.
saying every little thing about your business, but hitting the main points, right? Who do you serve? What do you do? What's your process? What are your fees like? What can they expect if they come in, that kind of thing. Those are the questions we're thinking about here. And now of course you can go ahead and answer those on your own and do it from there. You can also have ChatGPT kind of answer them for you. Again, remember, you've now uploaded your own materials here, your website and all this other stuff, so it would be pulling from the materials that you've supplied it with. um, and then you can review those and kind of iterate with it to kind of come up with a really good plan on what you want to include, and what questions are important from a prospect or even a client's perspective, right? They might be going here thinking about referrals and stuff like that. So I think there's a big opportunity here. And even if you already have an FAQ page, or maybe you have a draft in one, just having ChatGPT critique it could be a great place to start too, where you could kind of come up with ways to make it um, maybe even better than it already is. So I would say, like, starting out, just kind of having a conversation by sharing those materials and brainstorming some questions, get the ball rolling, um, is a great place to start. And I mean, you could have basically an FAQ page ready to send to a developer in, probably less than an hour if you really sat down and put your mind to it.
Yeah, I also think that your FAQ page can benefit from taking your ideal client persona and showing the AI model, here's, two or three ideal client personas, because I have, a range of types of people in my business. Um, I'm preparing an FAQ page for my website, but tell the AI model, act as my ideal client personas, and ask me or tell me what you think should be included in my FAQ page. Ask
Yeah.
the AI model to, what are these ideal client personas? What are the kinds of questions they're likely to want answered? And just see what you get. You'll probably end up modifying your notion of what you were going to put on that page to some degree. Um, and the other thing to do would be to uh, ask the AI model to look at your ideal client personas and what do you think are the likely objections they may have to wanting to do business with me? And how can I address those objectives in some manner in the FAQ? So you can really make it a very rich and powerful document, for sure. So.
Yeah, that's great advice. I love both of those ideas.
Yeah, and of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't tell anybody on the call today that we are doing our second flight of our class AI Marketing for Advisors. Starts tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Goes for 5 weeks. It's 2 hours each week. And trust me, you have never had any training like this before in your entire life. And you will think about how you market entirely differently after you go through this training. So I'm just going to say that. And then, Devin, we're done with FAQs, I guess, right? So now we're on to part two of our monthly meeting, where we're going to look at what's teed up for the month of April in terms of marketing, and then what we're going to start looking ahead to regarding uh, May.
Yep. So this is our marketing calendar for our master members. Advisor Client has its own version as well here. But each month, we know we tee up marketing activities for you based around a theme. So all of your marketing kind of is packaged together very nicely for the month. So for April, our theme is Social Security. It's actually like National Social Security Awareness Month. Even beyond that, I mean, Social Security is in the news a lot right now. So this is kind of very timely marketing as people are, thinking about it and hearing about it a lot. So number one, we always have an article reprint that reflects that theme. Our article reprints are FINRA reviewed articles written by our subject matter experts. You can personalize them with your information, send them out via PDF or web versions we have as well. But this is for April about switching benefits, written by Elaine Floyd, basically kind of goes through the opportunities certain people have when it comes to claiming different benefits on their record, whether that be a spousal or survivor, and then their own. And you would be amazed. I mean, I sit through Elaine's wonderful Social Security and Medicare workshops. And I would say every workshop we do, we hear a story or someone self-identifies in the room about not knowing about this rule or having a client who didn't know about this rule, and all of a sudden, they could switch to a survivor benefit that they didn't know existed, and now, maybe they were struggling before, and now they're bringing in a much larger benefit. And so this is really, I think, an impactful area for clients and prospects, and it's not intuitive, and people don't know all of the rules, and it's hard. So sending this out for the month of April could be a really great piece to send out to your list. I think many people will learn something from it. Just clicking through here, but it's a really great piece written by Elaine Floyd. So that is number one for the month of April. Of course, we have our flagship Social Security presentation as well that was developed by Elaine Floyd that goes through, what everyone needs to know about claiming strategies and all the intricacies of Social Security. So that is what's on deck for April. Also, don't forget our key planning and investment deadline postcard for spring as well. It's another piece to send out. And then looking ahead to May, our theme is retirement planning, and we have our reprint is around RMDs and how to decrease RMDs. This was written by Deborah Taylor. And again, RMDs are a very confusing area for people, especially with all of the rule changes in the past few years of, how, number one, how old you have to be to even get to have to claim your RMD. It depends on what year you're born. There's so many questions just around that aspect of it. And then getting into, how do I make this a more reasonable transaction? How do I decrease the amount I need to take? So this goes into kind of the intricacies of distribution planning and different strategies about RMDs and all of that. So another, I think, really impactful piece to send out in the month of May. And for May, we also have our main presentation is Savvy IRA Planning, which is a great presentation that goes through, what people need to know about their IRA when it comes to retirement, what they should be thinking about when it comes to withdrawing money and all of the rules around that. It's incredibly complicated, but the presentation kind of breaks it down for people to have a better understanding. And, advisors who give this presentation will say, it might be a smaller audience than, say, Social Security, but the people who are coming into it are usually high net worth, have a lot of money in these accounts, and make for really good prospects.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to put in a plug again for the article reprints. I mean, we talk about them every month, but they are heavily used by Horse's Mouth members, and we get constant feedback that clients really appreciate the fact that they're meaty and substantial, and that you're acting as an educator, sending those out to your clients, putting them on your website, putting them in your email newsletter, or using them for inspiration in terms of creating other, educational / content marketing materials. So don't overlook the article reprints for sure. Okay, Devin, where are we now? Part 3?
We are at member questions, yes.
All right. So let me ask you, uh, favorite topic of ours recently, lead magnets. What ones work best for advisors right now, and what's a good way to use them?
Good
What
question.
is a lead magnet too? Let's.
Sure, let's start with that. This is a good question, and my answer might not be that satisfactory to people because I'm not going to tell you what the best lead magnet is because it really depends on you. But let's start with what a lead magnet is, because a lot of people maybe don't know that. Lead magnets are part of what we call a lead generation campaign. These are campaigns that are designed for you to be building out your prospecting, your email list with more names. Essentially, a lead generation campaign, you take a lead magnet, maybe that's a special report, a white paper, a presentation, a tool you've developed. You put it out there, you say, you know, do you want access to this? Give me your email address and your name. And then prospect does that, they get access to the document or whatever tool you've created to share with them. You can then add that name to your list. You can drip on them. You can invite them to events. They get some information and everyone is really happy. Lead magnets, lead generation have been and continue to be a very effective marketing tool for advisors. We've talked about it in advisor clients. Sean and I have talked about it in some of our other programs. This desire to get, you know, 1,000 names on an advisor's email list and that how that unlocks a new level of marketing opportunities for advisors. And so if you're sitting here being like, how do I grow my email list? Lead generation is basically the way to do that. So one of the most important aspects of lead generation is choosing a lead magnet that people want, to download. Um, and I don't think there's one right answer for every advisor out there. It's going to depend on um, your target audience and your niche and who you are trying to attract. The number one thing when it comes to a lead magnet is thinking about your clients' pain points and creating a lead magnet around that answers those questions because that's going to be what attracts more prospects who look like your best clients. So there is no secret answer. But what I will say, I'm kind of going off what Sean was saying earlier about even the FAQ page is, using AI for this, right? So if you have these ideal client personas, or maybe you haven't even developed that yet, but you can describe, your top 3 clients and their characteristics, and you put that into ChatGPT, you ask what are the pain points of people like this? What's keeping them awake at night? And start to develop lead magnets around those pain points, that's what's going to be your best bet, right? I can't sit here and tell everyone on this call that a lead magnet about tax planning is going to work for all of you because you all have different businesses, you're all going after different people. But really sitting down and thinking about, okay, what my best client, what is something that they're dealing with or they're thinking about that I help them with on a regular basis, and what can I create around that that's going to educate people on the topic, show that I'm an expert, and kind of, get them to take the next step, which in this case is clicking and downloading, submitting their name, and then you can drip on them after that. So that would be my advice on what lead magnets work best is you have to think about your audience. As for using them effectively, you want to do your best to get these magnets in front of a new audience, right? Their whole goal here is to get more names on your list. And so you're going to want to look into paid advertising options like Facebook or LinkedIn around this, to get, new people interested. Having them on your website is great, but we know that getting new people to your website can be difficult. And so, you might not be pulling in a ton of names with that method, but if you can, spend a little bit of money, get these on Facebook, get these on LinkedIn, choose your target audience, right? The demographics that you feel fit, the area that you work in, the age of people you want to work with. If you have a niche, build an audience that looks as close to your niche as you can get it, and put these lead magnets in front of people. You're going to be bringing in names at a much quicker pace than just, kind of having it on your website and trying to do it that way. So that would be my advice when it comes to lead magnets and how to use them effectively.
Yeah, and they're across the range of topics we deal with, whether it's, say, IRA planning, tax planning, college planning, Social Security, Medicare, long-term care. In all of those topics, there are typically, 2 or 3 really good nuggets of information that, as one advisor used to say to me, these are the little things that we can point out that make us look like geniuses, because the public doesn't know about them. And sometimes these are, um, as Ed Slott refers to IRA time bombs, right? There's all sorts of, potential mistakes people can make by either not acting or acting in the wrong way across the range of financial planning topics. And, so to filter your lead magnet topics through those, key insights that make you look like a genius, and make you look like a genius because you're helping people either solve a problem or avoid a problem. Those are the kinds of things that people will be happy to exchange their email address for access to, whatever it is that you're creating, right? A little white paper or a short video or even a presentation, sign up for a webinar presentation. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to do that. The other thing I just wanted to mention is, you know, Devin's said, we want all advisors to have a list, an email list of 1,000 or more people beyond their client base. Because when you get up into that range, right, embedded in that list are people who have been following you for a long time. As long as you're properly cultivating that list, communicating with it on a regular basis. I mean, each month we're teeing up at a minimum. We tee up these article reprints, and Horse's Mouth also has a Charles Sherry monthly newsletter as well. So you should be communicating and cultivating this list. And as they grow over time, and once you're up into that 1,000 names or more. And I know advisors who have 5,000 names, and I know advisors who have less than 1,000 names. But when you're above 1,000, you'll discover as you keep moving forward in time that there are people who've been on your list for a long time who suddenly will begin to reveal themselves as being interested in doing business. Now, they may have sat with you for a discovery meeting a long time ago and nothing came of it, but they stayed on your list. And now the time is right because you have touched on a topic that strikes a nerve with them, and then finally they're ready to act. That's just the way it is. I know that many of you out there have good clients who came to you not right away, but after a period of time. And so building your list is just an absolute great asset. It's a marketing asset. It's a total asset for your firm as well when you come to at that point in your career where you're getting a valuation of your firm and looking to sell it. It's just another key. It's another key, item to show off in that process. So, okay, Devin, let's go on to question 2.
Sure. So the second question we have are there any common compliance pitfalls advisors should be aware of when using AI for marketing?
Yeah, this is interesting. And I wanted to double check myself on it and discovered something that FINRA put out something on AI for advisors back in February, and I missed it. But they basically appear to be saying, listen, key thing with using AI, you're not going to share personal identifiable information, right? It's the same as anything. So you want to be really careful about that. But that doesn't mean you can't have meaty conversations about scenarios, planning or investment management scenarios that you're facing with clients who are getting ready to come in for a meeting. I've seen huge success by advisors who are now going through a sort of brainstorming, a pre-client meeting brainstorming process where the end output is an agenda for the meeting. You have an idea of what the client is wanting to talk about, what they're coming in for. And people have had these great results doing that. But again, you're saying, hey, I got a client coming in, and here's the situation or the background. You're not saying it's Joe Blow who lives at, 15 Maple Avenue and here's his social security number. You're not sharing that kind of information, so you don't need to worry about it. And additionally, with these AI models, particularly ChatGPT and some others as well, you can pay a little more so that you can be absolutely certain that no one is being trained on your data, right? I feel like, ChatGPT, I don't mind that well, actually, I pay for the $30 a month, so they don't do it now. But, up until a few months ago, they did. And, I was fine with, in essence, having the AI models train on my answers. It doesn't mean they're like sucking up all the information and storing it. They're just observing the kinds of questions and conversations you're having with AI, and they're using that to continue to train the model. But anyway, for a little bit more, a month, you're not trained. But anyway, FINRA has come out and said, look, it's okay to use ChatGPT or other AI models in your work, but you're still responsible for everything, just like you always were. And so the mere fact that it was created by a large language model that sort of speaks and communicates like a very smart human with you, FINRA doesn't seem to have a problem with that per se. They're just saying, look, you're still responsible. Okay. They also made some other observations about um, that the standard communications with the public, the rules 2210, they still are in place, right? You can't be making, crazy claims or making promissory claims while using the AI stuff. I mean, it's just it's the same as ever, I think. But it is interesting to see also that FINRA is worried about clients being more exposed to investment fraud and scams because of AI. And, that is actually, a very good and legitimate concern. Later in the year, we're going to have more content and a presentation on that topic that you can share with your clients. So they're just kind of like, making that point that we need to stay on our toes regarding that sort of thing as much as possible. And again, other things like third-party vendors. There's a lot of, in addition, well, I mean, OpenAI would be a third-party vendor, right? You're still responsible for ensuring that your use of the tool complies with INRA and your own firm rules as well. So that's kind of where we are on that front. Devin,
Yeah,
we
I think
good to
that says
go?
it all, common sense compliance stuff.
Yeah, right,
Just
exactly. Exactly. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks so much. We'll see you again next month. And keep marketing because you do the things that we tee up for you every month. You go through that. It makes a big difference in your business. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next month. Bye.